the law enforcement heat that you get when you drop bodies, they surveil you 24/7. You know, they put bugs in my cars. Every restaurant I would go to, everywhere you go frequently, they put listening
Well, tell them what they
devices.
use. They use terrorism. They use counterterrorism equipment on mafia. So we were the #1 most priority in the country at one time. So they have unlimited resources. So let's say they're FBI, right? They'll go to their people. We want to take down Anthony Arillotta's crew. You have whatever you want. Well, usually you get a budget. With organized crime, whatever you want, 30 million. I mean, don't care. Just get them.
You drop bodies. What happened? Like, say John Gotti Sr., right, when he was at the height of his high profile when he was living. It's just like when you drop bodies. We killed a boss of the Western Mass faction of the Genovese family. That brought so much heat. Never mind other murders that we were participated in, and other shootings and other conspiracy to murders. We had so much heat on it that the 4-state area, New York, Connecticut, Providence, and Mass. Anybody that got arrested for some sort of organized crime or even drug crime.
You don't care about the rest of Rhode Island, just Providence?
Well, that's where
primarily where it's going on.
The stronghold of the mafia was back then.
Got it.
You know, but anybody that was like a young kid get caught for, like I said, we controlled all the marijuana back then. You get caught for marijuana, they would say, "What do you guys know about, you know, myself, Anthony, and his crew?" It was like a get out of jail card for them if they got caught with a couple kilos of coke and they were associates of ours, and they say, "Oh yeah, I could tell you stuff about that crew." That's what happens when you have that notoriety. You get 24/7 surveillance, listening devices in your car. They put listening devices in homes of my crew guys that we went and did the work, you know, the loan shark, the numbers, the sports, and we'd meet every week.
And that kind of shit is stuff that I never heard of when it came to like Bloods and Crips type shit.
Well, now they're doing it.
I don't know. Maybe it does happen.
Now in the 5 boroughs, the gangs, because organized crime fell off kind of. Now they're probably using that stuff. I wouldn't say like what they were using on us, but they're definitely spending more money to get them because they're in the RICO guys. They're in the RICO guys. The organized Italian mafia in the 5 boroughs is kind of like no more violence.
Right.
And they're the ones committing violence. The gangs are committing the violence.
They're killing the shit out of people. So.
Which they're happy. The prosecutors are happy because those bring the big cases, and they're really not making the money. I mean, the cartels are making the money. The old school drug guys get smart enough to get out of that gang mentality life because now they're making, you know, the heavy money. You know, they don't want nothing to do with that gang banging stuff as a young kid, 20, 25 years old. And anybody that's involved in that, if they're still involved in it, you know they're not making any money. Otherwise, they're gone. You know, once you start making the big money, what are you doing hanging around corners and hanging around gang banging and shooting a guy because he's wearing a red or blue shirt?
Yeah, because, I mean, that's one thing I've heard about, especially with San Francisco and shit, is that they have, like, migrants who basically will come up from, like, issued by the cartels and stuff, and they'll be the ones selling all the drugs in a place like Portland or San Francisco, et cetera, and there's no American gangs that are really, like, involved with this in any way, so they're making millions off of these cities which have, like, the worst fentanyl and heroin or whatever.
Everybody's dying. All my friends are dead off fentanyl, yeah.
Right, but then there's no, like, American counterpart who's partaking in this. They're doing everything.
Stopping them from coming in. Like these cartels, "Oh, no, you can't deal here. This is our area. But you know why? Because they can't get their hands on those drugs. It's the cartels are the ones getting their hands on it, pushing it too, unless they give it to these big-time drug dealers. Where are they getting it from?
Definitely. Okay. If we were to ask, like, why are all these kids in Chicago killing each other, people would give us, you know, if you were to go, like, dig a little bit deeper, you'd end up with, you know, there's no opportunities, these areas are historically impoverished, et cetera. And that kind of makes sense to you of, like, why these types of kids would end up doing these terrible things to each other. What are the economic conditions, or like from your perspective, that led, you know, the Italian mafia to becoming what it was? Like, what were the circumstances that made you guys so different than other white people?
So here's the thing. Italians that migrated, we had nothing.
Right.
We didn't have shit. When we came over to this country, we were poverty, treated like crap. So we actually were, you know, discriminated. We were hungry.
Greaseball
we were just
gangs,
like the gangs.
Cops used to beat us up. Same thing as they do.
We had nothing.
From a modern perspective, it's hard to imagine that white people could be that split up into different categories.
Yes, but we had nothing when we first came over. My grandfather, you know, they came over, they had holes in it, and nothing. Poverty, poor. So they were doing, you know, that's why they got to that, you know. And then we evolved to make, you know, a lot of money. But when we came over, poor, dirt poor.
And I'll say this, like when you said Chicago, when the Italian immigrants came, they weren't ghettos. Like, I lived in you could call it turned into a ghetto. But when I was a young kid, it was a neighborhood. Italian, Irish neighborhood. It wasn't a ghetto. And here's the difference of, like, when you said Chicago, there was no drugs in our neighborhood. So I think that's the big downfall with these people killing each other when these kids growing up is what chance do they got when the whole neighborhood is, you got ballers, you know, drug dealers on corners trying to sell drugs. There was none of that when the Italians or immigrants came in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you know, with, you know, the Italians in Western Mass, where I grew up, Springfield, we had Italian section all the way up until the early 2000s. You never had, you know, like the drug presence that it was, you know, up until like the 90s that it became. So I think the drug presence is the thing that ruins the, makes neighborhoods ghettos, makes them crime-ridden and all that violence.
But the biggest style of violence in terms of Chicago or whatever are really just these feuds between different neighborhoods in which, like, it just becomes this blood feud where it's like you killed one of my guys, so we're going to kill one of your guys, and it just goes back and forth over and over and over for like 20 fucking years.
When you're in the feds, you're locked up with everybody, right, all over the world, all over the country, sorry. Even the world sometimes. You get guys from other countries. We were with guys out of Chicago. They were shooting each other where it's so hysterical how it's not funny, but the way they operate is crazy. You're sitting on your stoop. You beef with the block over.
Yeah.
They're sitting like ducks.
Yeah.
They're coming over with choppers. Why are you sitting outside? I tell them, if you know these guys got choppers.
Right.
And they're just shooting each other in front of the buildings. What the fuck is going on? Like, what is going on here? You should just have choppers. They keep them on the side of the stoops, and they literally just wait for people to walk by and shoot them. What the fuck is this? I said, this is crazy. It's like almost like a third world country over there.
But that's like not relatable to you. Like it never became like that, where it's like you took one of mine, so we're just going to go back and forth over and over.
Let me explain something about the mafia. Well, I'll fuck your head up real fast, and I'll let him go.
Okay.
Me and you can be best of friends, but you're in a different family. We're at war. We kill each other, right? We start killing each other. The bosses can say, you just killed my best friend, Anthony. Right? You killed my best friend. I want to retaliate on you. The war's over. You can't do nothing. I can't touch you. I got to see you say hello to you. It's over. Once they say it's over, it's over. Yeah. That's it. There's no negotiating. Right. You're at war, you could be shooting each other, best friends. You killed my fucking best friend.
Right.
The next day it's over, you can't do nothing. Can't say a word. Hey, how you doing? You just killed my best friend.
Right.
That's how we are. We're very the laws with us are very strict. Gangs do not have that.
But then somebody clever like you, are you going to be figuring out, how I'm going to pay somebody who's not affiliated with this to kill him?
You got to be careful, man. You're walking on eggshells, you know what I'm saying?
If somebody kills someone in your family, how do you let that go, really?
Right.
You know, if somebody I don't care if it was me and somebody did that to somebody in my family, I wouldn't care what the boss was. I'd go and kill them as much as I can. Italy is a totally different game because there's a lot of immigrants that came to the Springfield area, Western Mass, from towns in Naples, province, and they had a war going on, and they killed there was the Grazianos versus the Cavas, and that war, they took out like 30 members. This was back in the 90s. They were up to like 30 members in each family getting murdered by the other faction. They were killing fathers, and they had the woman even involved because the towns were so small that were involved in helping the husbands and be the gangsters. So in Italy, that exists. They shoot at your houses. They don't care if they murder your kids.
We don't operate like that.
Yeah, but so that's the reason I'm bringing that up. Is it's similar to, like you said, you killed one of mine. That all exists in
over there,
and I think in Canada, they're killing everybody like crazy.
Yeah, Canada's still killing people.
Stuff.
Really?
Yeah,
so I mean that
crazy.
exists, and
they
I think it would exist here. Like if you shoot in somebody, if somebody shot your brother and he was part of that life, you're going to want revenge on them.
Right.
Where does that? You can't get rid. Especially if you're a killer.
Yeah.
If you killed somebody and someone shot your son, let's just say, you're not letting that go.
Right. Yeah, because like that, whenever we try to have conversations with dudes from Chicago about how this could eventually sort of resolve itself or get to the point where it's less murderous, you just end up with people who just seem like they don't have any hope that this could ever sort of settle itself just because there's too many people who died on each side of it.